So we wanted to talk about a few topics all together because Lee is going to illustrate them and explain them to you. The first section of the manifesto was actually about advertising, and it sort of speaks a little bit about this idea of using film and other media to tell fashion stories, because you said a beautiful text, a poem, a voice are each missing. Isn't texting so important today? Then where in the world is the written word? The power of the image is such that communication is reduced to photographs, largely divided in three categories. Brands use either a famous actor or famous models in groups or a famous photographer. And I think you also said, or a combination of all of them together. So advertising became quite ridiculous, and the same clothes, more or less, are used in the editorials that are heavily art directed by the economy of advertisements. So the magazines, in fact, have become corrupt. A new brand has little to no chance to be featured, halting the progress of the fashion economy that used to hunt for the new and exciting. All in all, an obsolete system managed by a tired group of individuals and agencies fatigued by the industries of beauty and clothes, failing fashion in quite an obvious way. So hopefully with these images, you can show us a little bit more about where the industry has, redeemed itself. But you also talked about marketing in the manifesto, and you said it is without doubt the perversion of marketing that ultimately has helped to kill the fashion industries.
And still does.
Marketing has worked hard and pushed the boundaries of production and expansion, mushrooming stores, spreading products like viruses. Saturation is slowly turning traveling global consumers away from too much sameness and overexposure. Marketing has taken over with the major companies, and it's manipulating creation, production, presentation, and sales. All aspects are seen from just one perspective, which is how to produce better figures, not to bring a better product or to generate a better culture, let alone to stimulate a better human working environment. Designers are pressed like lemons to perform and are requested to create multiple collections and multiple variations on just one theme. So I'll let you talk us through what's happening in these areas, and then we'll come back.
I think that there's some improvement, especially in advertisement and editorials, because we are entering a new period where things don't have to be beautiful, they don't have to fit, they don't have to make sense. They are more related to life, as we have seen in the films. They're more related to human existence, and they take much more risk, which is recent and which is hopeful, because maybe this will change the way we read culture, we read fashion, we read beauty, and it will give, I think, also hope to all type of bodies, faces, moods, characters, and so on. So I just sampled a few of these things for you, which recently caught my eye, and I really like the new perspective, the new posters, where we don't have to have sort of absolute plastic beauty. This is faces as they come and go in the street, very handsome, very appealing, but not model stuff. I really like these two images because when these brands are actually promoting themselves with angry young women, that makes a lot of new sense. So instead of trying to say, oh, we're such a beautiful brand and look at us and how beautiful I am, we are just shouting out almost rage about the current environment and the current chaos in the world. So it's really translating, I think, what we live and how we live, the pain and the anguish of this moment, especially in the United States. I love the ambush word actually here. It's so interesting that that is translated in images. It's also very beautiful that the new brands, which are very powerful, which are making super progress, also financially, are very headstrong, are very against mainstream, are doing whatever they want. Ferber and Mucha are two women, two female designers who just go for it. They take the liberty to create whatever they want, however they want, and they are gaining a lot of respect and movement in the industry. Especially Mucha Prada is in the heydays of her career, and we congratulate her with that. Then another brand we really follow and really love for their consideration of craft is Bottega. And here you see also how completely non-respectful the presentation of Bottega can be. You know, it's really a sign of our times that we allow this type of imagery to be. Loewe is taking a lot of chances as well. I love the way they hang their logo at the top of the posters, which is really beautiful. This is new fashion photography, which is very abstract. It's the Copernic twins from Ukraine. Lots of brands also don't use people anymore because maybe they're too expensive or we are so tired of them. So there's a lot of animals right now in editorials and in advertisement. And it always somehow wakes us up because it's endearing, right? And there is a sort of abstraction in the new images, which I really like. And there is no reverence for things. It's passing through barriers. It's using unusual features. It's taking an unusual position, an unusual focus in photography. Jill Sander is very, very much on this path in the most beautiful, abstract way. Something to really look at, because it's not even showing products sometimes. Also, we see in many cases the garment just being the garment, nonchalantly draped somewhere on a couch, and there's no people, no consumers. The garment just speaking for itself, taking a sunbathing. It's a balancing act of things which we see happening in photography and in posters and in young artist interior movies, 15 minutes videos of making sculpture with household items. There is this abstraction where we see there is still a human presence, but it's very hidden. So there is just focus on color, material. After, Irving Penn is reviving in a new tendency of very spectacular still lifes, especially working with our accessories. It's a balancing act of sorts. It's very emotionally, I think, important. This balancing act is also used in food photography, and all sorts of still lifes are reviving. And it shows how the human genius is able to create wonder with very little means, which I think is a very important message. Improvisation is the name of that game. And then we use these food ingredients also as accessories in our fashion photography. And the togetherness, which we spoke about earlier, is very present also in photography, where there is not just one person or one item, but it's a collective. Very unusual poses, quite irreverent again, which somehow make that the photo of a leg or a shoe becomes interesting. Also, I noticed that there is an idea to make things not as beautiful, even when it's editorial or posters, just negligent, if you want. And then there is the very powerful use of scary animals. In general, animals are part of the picture in a very generous and organic way. They are perfect models. Somehow they seem to be sort of more elegant than we are today. There is this importance, of course, of fluidity movement in photography gaining ground. And there is this idea of togetherness where the groups are more important than the individual. And then there is the photos from the southern countries. I made a whole book about this, as you know, Proud South, which is explaining that the talents from the South in photography and fashion are moving up to the center stage, and that they will teach us new lessons in color and landscape, I think, how landscape is used in photography.
So in fact, casting is completely changing, and it's a whole new.
Yeah, casting makes the big difference. Irreverence, improvisation, courage, vision, and the notion that your brand is strong enough to have contradictory messages and visuals, just to wake people up, I think. So yeah.
So another area that needs waking up is, of course, the press. And 10 years ago, you wrote, many people write about clothes, yet few journalists have an education in fashion history or cultural history. Articles that are opinion pages instead of real critical assessments from a professional point of view. Much is sacrificed to the green gods of money and the greed of the publishers, pushing editors to even more shopping pages, more people stories, more it bags, more it shoes, more it girls, more and more, with less and less content. Now that bloggers start stealing the limelight, journalism is becoming an endangered profession, and amateurs start breaking the news, sending the pictures, realizing the videos, and creating the buzz. This will put even more pressure on magazines in the future. So formats that are in dire need of a new direction. So when you look at all these images in these magazines, would you say that there is, a new voice emerging in the press, or is it still?
I think that there's a lot of new young magazines. It's quite amazing that everybody said print is dead, paper is dead, books are dead, and now we see revival of books, revival of magazines. But they are all have a very singular point of view. I think that the big emporiums like Vogue, which is pretending to bring news and just printing the same thing for each country in the world, is very irreverent, but that means they don't believe that there is local beauty and local news and local creativity, that everything just comes from Manhattan, which I think is a mistake. And so it's in the hands of the younger, newer magazines, where there is also real writing, meaning that it's long articles and studied articles and not all these snippets. Yeah.
Well, you just did a collaboration with a magazine called See All This. So later on, we're going to be taking a look at that issue.
Exactly.
And what's amazing about that particular, that it's cultural message to everything they do. It's an art magazine, even if it's talking about things like fashion.
This time.
And then we also want to talk about retailing, because you said that since our century started, we haven't seen a new concept for shopping. Department stores date from the 19th century, and all other formats were invented in the 20th century. Even online shops and concept stores happened just before the turn of last century. As a consequence, we are struggling with out-of-date formats that do not correspond anymore to today's fluid customers, able to browse high and low, city and country, airport and hotel, online and in real time. The hardest hit are the department stores that fight to survive in this chaotic environment. Often one can overhear visitors sigh, like you saw, I think, at Barney's when you were here in New York. They said, oh, there's nothing to be found in here, even though they just saw a few thousand references on hangers. Apparently, they didn't register anymore on their eyes, just like yogurts in a supermarket failed to attract. Edited stores such as Dover Street Market are able to reinvent and rekindle a multi-brand environment. Young brands show their very small collections with other creative ideas from their collective friends, enchanting young people to seek out and collect ordinary clothes. And so you just discovered a new brand here.
There's actually two stores which just opened. This store is opened in Manhattan. It's Lauren Mangogian. She is producing all her garments in Peru. It's super downtown. It's like beyond mod. And she has this in crazy beautiful minimal store. The garments are reasonable priced for the quality they have, the quality of space, the quality of silence, I would say. Also, of the beauty of the materials is super new for us. We haven't maybe ever seen this in this way. There is not many styles. There's only a few. And then there is in Paris, just opened, the Olsen twins opened a new store in Rue d'Alzier, I think, on the corner of Rue d'Alzier, which is behind the Rue Saint-Honoré, so it's not even in the main street. And they made a beautiful, beautiful store of an old restaurant, which they completely emptied and restored to its former beauty. And they use vintage furniture to create a very cultural environment for their clothes. And again, here the clothes are very sparse, very placed out, never in numbers, inviting you to browse and to find your own choices. So I think that there is this new wave of fantastic stores which are much more adapted, much more concentrated, and much more appealing therefore. But there is also